right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining our closing plenary of NERM 2023. My name is Matt Granboys. I'm one of the general co-chairs along with Lori Ferrens and Andrew Schulte. It has been an absolute pleasure working with the organizing committee, our program chair, Sean Mulcahy, countless of other organization committees and subcommittees. It's been a lot of fun over the past 3 days. And it's now my pleasure to close out our NERM 2023 today with a very special plenary talk that is sponsored by the ACS Division of Business Development and Management. Before I get started on speaking a little bit more about our sponsor and introducing our speaker, a couple logistics things. Is I want to make sure that we thank not only the sponsor of this plenary, but as you can see, our banners that we have on both sides of the stage, our sponsors in general for NERM 2023. Sanofi as our leading sponsor, Nuchem, BMGT, and then many others across our tiered sponsors. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been able to have all these coffee breaks and all of these socials and food and the stuff that makes it fun to engage with everyone, make friends, make colleagues, lifelong collaborators. And so please, let's just thank our sponsors before we keep going. All right, so ACS Division of Business Development and Management is a technical division for chemists that have taken their careers beyond the bench and got involved and took their careers into commercial management leadership aspects of the chemical industry. Our BMGT, I am a former chair of that division. I'm currently the program chair. And we do a lot of activities, events, and engagement initiatives for folks that have taken their careers to become field applications engineers, technical directors, chief scientific officers, marketers, people involved with finance that are trained in chemistry but participate in the chemical enterprise in a very different way. We provide awards. At the fall meeting, we'll be honoring actually Thursday's plenary. Alexa Dembeck received the Whalen Award, which is our pinnacle award honoring excellence in management and leadership within the industry. We'll also be honoring early career industrial managers who've kind of taken that leap outside of the lab and started to be more involved with administration. One of the other things that we're most proud about is our continued sponsorship of activities and programs at regional meetings. BMGT for years have sponsored what we call our Bill Talks, kind of similar to TED Talks, but don't tell them that. Bill Talks stand for business, illumination, longevity, and laughter. They're meant to be narratives to help you understand that chemists who go into these spaces are people. They live vibrant lives. They have great stories. As part of this, even though we ask you not to record anything as part of NERM 2023, BMGT is recording this, and we post these up on our website, bmgt.org. You can see former Bill Talks, and this will be going up in the near future, and very excited to have our speaker added to that library of talks. So check that out. And for students and also others, if you're interested in learning more about what goes beyond outside the bench to make our industry vibrant, please think about joining BMGT by going to bmgt.org. All right, so with that, it is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Today's closing plenary speaker is Elizabeth O'Day. She is the CEO and founder of Valeris Incorporated, which is a precision medicine company that uses an innovative combination of NMR and mass spec-based metabolomics platforms and machine learning algorithms to fundamentally improve how diseases are diagnosed and treated. She received her Ph.D. right here in the Boston area in Cambridge from Harvard University, where she was a National Science Foundation Fellow, as well as receiving her Master's in Philosophy from the other place in Cambridge, actually the University of Cambridge over in England, where she was a Winston Churchill Fellow. Prior to this, she's had an absolutely outstanding academic training and undergraduate degree. Basically, every single fellowship or award you think could be won, Liz has got them. She's probably got a big awards cabinet in her house. We're talking Beckman Scholar, Goldwater Scholar, Finnegan Award, National Institute of Chemistry Excellence. The list goes on and on. And so with that, we are absolutely thrilled to have her as part of this event. In addition to actively working with Olaris and leading her company, she's active in government policy advocacy and working with global organizations to advance the field of precision medicine. She was an invited attendee to the first United States of Women Summit held at the White House and was recognized as a nominated change maker. She was invited by then Vice President Joe Biden, who is now our U.S. President, as part of his Cancer Moonshot Summit to discuss innovative ways that we're going to end cancer the way that we know it today. She has chaired World Economic Forum events with the Global Future Council on Biotech and serves on the Personalized Medicine Coalition Board of Directors. She does all of this while also finding time to teach, educate, and mentor. She's an adjunct faculty at Boston College, where she teaches subjects ranging from metabolism to entrepreneurship. Today's talk, as you can see up on the screen, Dr. O'Day is going to be giving our Bill talk entitled Hard Work, Comic Books, and Metabolite Biomarkers Transforming Precision Medicine. So please welcome me by joining Dr. Liz O'Day to the stage.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Lori. Thank you for the entire organizing committee, and thank you guys all for joining here today. I am quite honored to be able to have the chance to provide the Business Illumination, Longevity, and Laughs talk at the NERM conference and to close things out. As Matt alluded to, my talk is going to be sort of kind of tracing a little bit of my career path, and I called it Hard Work, Comic Books, and Metabolite Biomarkers Transforming Precision Medicine. So although it was already nicely and quite generously alluded to in my intro here is a quick snapshot of my bio. And the gist of it is, as Matt already referred to, is I have spent quite a long time in school. First, around the corner, getting my undergrad at BC, where I was fortunate to receive many of the nation's top undergrad awards. I do not have an awards cabinet, but you did fail to mention one really important one, because there's some people here in the audience that were pivotal of that. When I was a sophomore at BC, I received the American Chemistry German Exchange Fellowship and got to go with Ruth Tanner and some amazing people and spend a week in Berlin, which was quite an amazing experience. And I hear the German exchange students are here now, so hi guys. After I finished my undergrad, I was a Churchill Fellow across the pond, hung out in England for a year, got an MPhil in chemistry there at the University of Cambridge, and then of course back here at Harvard, where I did my PhD and was a National Science Foundation Fellow. I was also a joint student in 2 laboratories, and all of that, I think, encapsulated many of the best experiences of my life, but certainly, man, was it a lot of hard work. And after I finished my PhD, I decided to start a company based off of my doctoral work called Olaris, where I remain the CEO and the CSO today. And let me tell you, that is quite a lot of hard work. And the name Olaris is actually a comic book reference. So for those of you that might be X-Men fans in the room, you might already be familiar with the character Polaris, but maybe those that are more familiar with the movies know Magneto. He was the X-Men's nemesis, always kind of out to battle against humanity. Well, Polaris was his daughter, and she was for the most part good, and she had the same mutant ability to control magnetism, and because Olaris's core technology relies on nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, named the company as a play on her name. And so through, I would say, my own hard work and then everything that everybody's doing at the company, we have been really fortunate to be recognized for what we do. And sometimes that has led to me leading different think groups, steering committees, sitting on boards, advocating in front of Congress for policy changes. I feel very humbled to receive some awards that, like, sometimes I just can't even believe that my name is associated with. And I realize that when you look at this and when you hear it, it sounds very shiny. but I gotta set the record straight. It is not all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, being an entrepreneur, and especially a female scientist, first-time entrepreneur, I have faced my fair share of adversity in the world. Without a doubt, I have received more no's than yeses and experienced some really incredible disappointments. But I never let that negativity stop me. In fact, I think it rather emboldened me to try to find my own path and to continue making stepwise progress to move forward. And I think this is kind of summarized in one of my favorite quotes. This one is by Rocky. I don't know how easy it is to see it, so I'll just paraphrase. You know, it says that the world's not all sunshine and rainbows. It can be a nasty place and knock you down and keep you down if you let it. But if you find some inner strength and get up and keep moving, that's how you win. And while I don't have enough tiger blood surging through my body to say that I'm winning, I feel confident enough to say that I'm definitely not losing, right? And so when we have these moments, which if it hasn't happened to you yet, I'm sure it will, where you start to wonder, you know, did I make the right choice? If I had made a different choice, would my life have, you know, more peace or less stress? I'm here to tell you, absolutely, yes. There are paths that I'm sure would, you know, at least in my case, have been a lot more easier. But that doesn't mean that the choices that you've made are not the right one, and in fact can lead to a wonderful life with once-in-the-lifetime experiences and opportunities. And so, you know, when I find myself wavering, as it still happens today, of whether or not I made the right choice, I think back to, you know, famous Robert Frost quote here, where to me the point of his quote is that choosing your own path and making your own way is what it's all about. And so when I reflect on my choices, I certainly have not taken, you know, the path more trodden, and maybe the path I took was not even, you know, the safe one, the easy one, or heck, it might not even been the smart one, but it's the choice that I have embraced. And in fact, it's the only path that I want to be on, especially because I have some amazing co-pilots, these two weirdos that I call baby girl, daughter, and my husband, and wouldn't want to be on any path that doesn't, you know, let me hang out with them on the regular. And in addition, the path that I've chosen really I'm incredibly grateful for, because I truly feel like I get up every day and get to work towards fulfilling a purpose. So this is me and my older brother when we were kids. I was in kindergarten, he was in first grade, when Rob was diagnosed with a rare form of adrenal cancer called neuroblastoma. He is fine, survived, thrived, lives a great, glorious life on Nantucket, made way better life choices than I did. But for 2 years, our family lived in Boston Children's Hospital, and we weren't sure what Rob's prognosis would be. And I would beg the doctors to just fix my brother. It's even like written in the medical notes that his little sister's like refusing to acknowledge the seriousness of this condition. And it's not that I didn't realize it was serious. As a kindergartner, I could tell this was bad news, but I just wanted people a way to fix him and to make it better. And so while everybody was certainly doing the best that they possibly could, even as, you know, a 5 or 6 year old, I was really dissatisfied that in the end, all I could do, all that anyone could really do, was hope and pray that the medicine worked. And so I made a deal that if Rob survived, I would dedicate my life to developing technology to improve medicine. And I can honestly say that every day since then, although the path has changed and shifted and gone in different directions, I have been working to hold up my end of the deal. And in fact, that is what Olaris is all about. As Matt said, we are a precision medicine company that combines metabolites and machine learning to develop what we call precision diagnostics that can stay with, I hate to even use the word patient, so just like a human, throughout their lifestyle and their journey, where we're developing diagnostics that can diagnose disease earlier. I think it's a little bit crazy that we wait for our bodies to practically break before we can say, oh yeah, there's something wrong with you. And so Alaris is working on especially in neurodegeneration here, to develop diagnostics that would allow us to detect disease at its earliest onset and hopefully stand a better chance to intervene. In addition, I think it's pretty crazy that we follow, stepwise medicine, where you get the drug that just worked the best in some average group of people, or even worse, you might get the drug that your insurance company has negotiated the cheapest price for, not necessarily the drug that is best for you. So we develop tools that can help better select who should get which drug. And then finally, we work in developing diagnostics for adverse monitoring. So I think it's pretty crazy that we get people on different therapies and we just send them out into the world and say, like, come back if you think it's not working, right? Like, we can do a lot better, and there is certainly technology and data and tools out there that can help us remove the guesswork from medicine. And so that's what our company is all about. But the thing about companies is most of them fail. 96% of companies will not make it past 10 years. And so Alaris, we just celebrated our 9th birthday a couple of weeks ago, which I feel very proud about. And so I thought I'd use the rest of the talk here today just to share, 3 either leadership or success lessons that I think have helped got me and Alaris through our 9th birthday, and I hope will carry us to 10 and well beyond. So the first thing, the first lesson is know your stuff. And I promised my mom I wouldn't swear, so I was going to say know your shiz, but so I won't go into it more because we've already talked about it, but these are the titles of my 3 thesis projects, which those take up a big shelf in my house. Where as an undergrad, I worked on the design and synthesis of aspartate transcarbamylase inhibitor compounds. In England, I did a thesis on understanding the interaction between a single heavy chain domain fragment of a camelid antibody and alpha-synuclein. And then I did my Ph.D. using NMR to identify structural features of Lin28 regulated microRNAs and mRNAs, and as a tool for comparing differences in cellular metabolism. So, pithy would not be the word to describe the titles of my thesis. But the words don't matter because it's actually the training that I received. I have definitely spent more hours of my life in a lab, under a microscope, on an NMR, or reading papers, or in a library doing everything that I can to learn about how human health and disease and how it works. And in particular, Alaris, we study metabolites. So metabolites are beautiful. They are all the small molecules that swim around in you and I that provide energy and biomass for life to exist. The rate at which you make and break down these molecules is what makes you, you, and the way that I do it is what makes me, me. It also explains why you could be susceptible to certain diseases and myself others, and why, if you and I got the same disease and were treated with the same therapy, you might have a beautiful outcome, and me not so much. So metabolites are this incredibly rich and powerful reservoir of biomarkers that tell us so much about ourselves, about biology, about health and disease. And it is my job as the CEO and CSO of a metabolomics company to know this. And so here is a screenshot or a picture of what used to be my home office, and now it's my daughter's room, because for those that have kids, she's taken over our entire house as that happens. Where I set up a chalkboard, and on the regular, I try to, test my brain to be able to sort of trace, some of these metabolic pathways. And when I get to, one of my favorite metabolites, N-acetylneuromenic acid, or norepinephrine, or, I really like proline, I tell a little story about it to my daughter and like the impact that it can have. And so while I don't necessarily think everybody in the room has to go to this extreme, I want to tell you, it feels really good to know that you're good at something. Like, to know that you are a master of your craft and really knowledgeable in a particular area. Metabolites are wildly complicated, so I don't want to say that I've figured it out, and in fact, I get humbled by the nuances of biology on the regular. But I know enough that I know enough, right? And I can be in this. And so I always encourage, you know, whatever field you're in, whether it's chemistry, biology, communications, I don't know, writing social media blogs, to become like a master of your craft and go deep, because it's really a great feeling to know that like you bring something to the table and you can add unique insights. And so at a company, I think this is incredibly important, and something that we do at Olaris is like, yes, you need to have your domain expertise, but then within a company, but I actually think just in life in general, it's also important to look up and look around and to develop some cross-functional knowledge. In a company, there's a lot of different things that are going on, especially like Olaris. We have very different tech sections to our tech stack, but it's never enough, or you will not, I think, grow and succeed if you just say, I'm just the data scientist. I'm just going to be doing this, and I'm not going to be aware of how the other puzzle pieces sort of fit together. So like in a company, I think everyone needs to be aware of, let's say, clinical need, clinical utility, how are products actually going to be used in real life, what's the reg and reimbursement pathway, you know, what are sort of the legal nuances, the finances, the investment, you know, X, Y, and Z. And by no means, shape, or form does this mean that you have to be an expert in everything. Actually, I am discouraging that. I'm encouraging domain expertise in something like you kill it at, and then general awareness of how everything sort of fits together. And also, embrace a team, right? Find experts that can complement your knowledge gaps. These are some of the amazing people that I get to work with at Olaris, and it is a really amazing group of multidisciplinary experts. We have analytical chemists, we have biologists, data engineers, statisticians, machine learning experts, AI, business people, physicians. Everybody kind of comes together and brings their unique skills and passion to help us move forward on our path. And one thing that I think that we do is nice is that we have this standing what else question that we ask everybody. So at the end of every board meeting, at the end of every scientific advisory board meeting, and just our internal meetings, we have a slide that says what else. And we use that to challenge each other to think about, what are we missing? What are we not understanding? What else do we need to sort of be thinking about? And it provides this really great sort of positive reinforcement, feed forward loop of feedback and learning, so that we all constantly keep, I would say, like leveling up. My second piece of advice is to exceed expectations. And here I'll bring the comic books back into play. So again, clearly I'm an X-Men fan. So if you've read X-Men, you know that you might have known about Cerebro. It is this machine that Professor X and Magneto built together to be able to detect mutant brain waves, and it's like kind of functions like a location device. Olaris has our own version of Cerebro. It stands for Comprehensive Early Responsive Evaluation of Biomarkers Related to Outcomes. It is also an incredibly powerful device that lets us detect biomarkers that can help us answer meaningful clinical questions. And seeing Cerebro, let's see, in action, one moment. It is this end-to-end solution for metabolomics and machine learning, or AI, to develop diagnostics. And so what happens is we get patient samples and clinical data. We will do the best, or we think the best, or we're always pushing that limit of metabolite profiling. We do high field multidimensional NMR spectroscopy. I'm actually getting on a plane right after this to go give a talk about the details of this. We also have added mass spec to our tech stack, and then what this does is provides a really robust kind of sandbox of metabolite data that is been tested and tried to pass all of our QC and our reproducibility metrics, that then the AI side of our house comes in and says, all right, like, let's see, can we find a signature that could differentiate people who have Parkinson's versus do not have Parkinson's, people who responded to a particular therapy versus did not, kidney transplant patients who experienced a life-threatening and graft-threatening infection. Is there a metabolite that is swimming around there that we can detect and quantify and validate to bring forward into a diagnostic? And one of the things that Olaris does that I think is pretty powerful, is that everything that we do is rooted in a deep sense of biology. I personally don't believe, I know like AI is all the rage right now, in black box AI where just like an answer comes out. I think in health and in medicine, it's a disservice not to like dig a little deeper and figure out why. So everything we do, we try to link back to metabolic pathways and at least develop some hypothesis about what this could be teaching us, because sometimes it opens up new avenues of understanding, therapeutic development, and all kinds of things that we didn't even imagine when we first set out in that project. And so, you know, there are other people that do metabolite profiling out there, but they tend to do just like one piece of this pipeline. And when I started Olaris, I said, like, if we're really going to do this and have the impact that I want and believe that we can, we have to do it all. We have to have eyes on every step of the process, and every step needs to be held to that same level of, you know, rigorous science. And with, you know, Cerebro, we've been able to actually work with amazing groups all throughout the world and put together some truly groundbreaking science. We have worked with both academia, hospitals, foundations, biopharma partners to answer, you know, really challenging questions in rare disease and oncology and transplant. And that has led to, although it's taken time because we do really that hard work of digging in, to now we are about to launch our first clinical products, as well as being able to offer a whole suite of software solutions that are going to empower others to discover their own metabolic insights. And I think a real difference of Olaris and this exceeding expectations is sometimes, and I know there's some people from industry, you might like send samples out there and you get this like data dump and then it's on you to kind of like make sense of it. Absolutely not. Like before we like start with a project and embrace, we do like a true partnership test, and we say like, okay, like we want to sit down and listen to what really matters to you. What are you really trying to solve? We ask a billion questions. You know, we just presented it a couple weeks ago at American Transplant Congress. This really groundbreaking study looking at metabolic changes in hearts that have been extracted after something called donation after circulatory death, and then they get put in this ex-perfusion box, and we've traced the metabolic choreography of what's happening to that heart when it's in a box before it goes into a new recipient. And before I embarked on that project, I was like, I gotta understand like what's happening. And with my eyes practically closed, I watched all these videos and movies of like of hearts being transplanted and put in, you know, from donor to recipient and all the processes, so that I was armed with that knowledge, so that when I was looking at our data, I could know if and how any of those things, you know, could impact our results. And we now have a new device that we think is going to really actually be able to expand the organ pool, because we know how to monitor good quality hearts now, right? And I don't think we would have got there unless we did this like true partnership and embedding in every single step of the process. So this exceed expectations thing, I think it can come, you know, in like products you deliver as a company, but you can also exceed expectations with yourself. So this is me many moons ago when I had just kind of started Olaris. And how I still really don't know. The World Economic Forum invited me to give a presentation at their annual meeting at Davos. And I didn't know much about the World Economic Forum at the time, except that this was like a big deal, right? And this is where like the who's who and like the leaders of the world like all congregate. And they asked me to give a talk on personalized medicine. And I, you know, went on YouTube or whatever and tried to look up other talks from Davos just to kind of get a sense of like what I was stumbling into. And I was terrified. I saw dudes much older than me giving talks about, you know, geopolitical instability, market volatility, and the liquidation of capital markets, and blah, 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 and words that, at least at that time, I had no idea what it was. And I truly thought, like, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to go and make a fool of myself. And I was like, you know, like, this is too much pressure, too much stress. Like, I literally did not think I'd be able to do it. And so, after, you know, a couple of deep breaths and, you know, getting through my freak out moment, I said, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to kill it. but I'm going to do it like my way, right? I'm not going to go up there and try to be like one of these other suits. I'm going to go up there, show off how much I know about personalized medicine, and in a fun, relatable way, but still make my message there. And so in 2016, at Davos, this was the year, it was like Leonardo DiCaprio, Joe Biden was there, it was the first time I met him, Oprah, Bono, Justin Trudeau, like leaders of the world, whether they all came to my talk, I'm not 100% sure, but they were there, and I got up on the stage, and I gave a talk about how biomarkers are the DeLorean of personalized medicine, where I started by putting on the Marty McFly hat, and I explained how biomarkers from previous patients, like the Philadelphia chromosome and CML patients, transformed our understanding of this disease, enabled scientists to develop new therapies, and then diseases that, like CML, used to have maybe a 5% 5-year survival rate, now through drug development like Gleevec have 95% survival rate. And I made the case that all these very big, powerful people and government leaders, if you guys invest in biomarkers and better health records and integrating these sorts of systems, we absolutely have the technology to make personalized medicine a reality. And after my talk, I got down and I was unsure how it was going to be received or what was going to happen, if I was going to be like ushered out the door, because certainly, not like everybody else. But the opposite. It was received quite well, and they wanted me to do it again and again and again. And so with the forum, I began sort of a world tour of going to educate political leaders, business leaders about personalized medicine, how it all works, and X, Y, and Z. I was joined some global future councils, and then eventually asked to lead them. Got to go to the White House, as you said, many other things that are just crazy that I would have never, ever imagined that my path would have led me down. And a lot of great work came out of those things. I remember teaching, you're supposed to use Chatham House rules where you're not supposed to talk about it, and I'm very cognizant that this is being filmed right now. But we talk to political leaders about how does CRISPR really work? What's the hype? What's the hope? What can it do? Really got into things which I have seen then policy be changed as a result of not just me, but what everybody was doing there. And so a lot of great stuff came from just speaking up and having the confidence to share my expertise. And so these are just 3 things that I'm really proud about of the work that we did throughout this course, is we put together these frameworks that have really become resource documents for governments all over the globe about how to make personalized medicine a reality. We started a global alliance for diagnostics, how to get diagnostics out to everyone, because again, I think that's how you make medicine actually work, is by better diagnostics. And then, really helping to push this idea of bringing patients back into the center of drug development. It's crazy that we make drugs and we don't ask the patients, is this something that you want? Would this, make your life better? And so all of this came, I think, a result of that, me just taking a stance, exceeding my own expectations of myself and say, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this. And so I would encourage others to speak up, because you can be, a powerful force for change. My final lesson or piece of advice or whatever is to be a good human. When we're all living our lives and on these very, different paths, there can be different stresses. And I think if you kind of root yourself of there's choices that you have to make that are not always easy, but if you can, at the end of the day, say, I was a good human, go home, sleep well at night. And this can take on many different flavors, so I just thought I would mention a couple of things. One of the first things I think about being a good human is setting expectations. And at Alaris, one of the things that we do is on everyone's first day, they meet with me where I share these 2 slides about what they can expect from me as their CEO and as their leader, and what I expect from them. And yes, they are a mirror image of one another, because I think, that's sort of the bond that we're entering into into a partnership sort of together. But I wanted to sort of flag this one part, because this, to me, over the years, has really helped define what I mean by be a good human and be a good boss, or be a good coworker. And it's this be a responsible and responsive leader bit. I think an easier way to sort of understand this is to be willing to provide people honest feedback. And this can take two extremes. It's celebrating people when they do good work, like giving that high five. I think sometimes when we're all busy and we're all running around, it can be easy to slip your mind not to congratulate someone or not to acknowledge someone that you see how hard they're working, and you value their commitment or their passion and everything that they're doing. And so for the sake of time, I won't jump into everything exactly what we do, but I'll say, like, quarterly, yearly, and even daily, I really make it a point to acknowledge, the hard work of the team, give them a high five, celebrate them, and let them know that I see how hard they're trying. I think at the end of the day, that's all any of us wants to know, is that someone like acknowledges and recognizes, how hard we are all working. However, I think it's also being a good human to acknowledge when it's not working. So at Alaris, we do a lot of reviews, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and every 6 months thereafter, where we ask both individuals and their supervisors to fill out this form. And it's like, what were your successes? But then also, where did we miss the mark, or where did that individual, fail to deliver to their capacity? We also do what we call postmortems after every project, collaboration, or event, where again we celebrate the high fives and the successes, but we also, not in any sort of negative or mean way, but very, descriptively say, like, where could we have done better, and point those out for sort of constructive, positive, movement forward. I think there's a lot of people that say, like, oh, I don't want to be mean and give harsh feedback. It is meaner, if that's a word, or more mean to not tell somebody about their shortcomings, and not give them the opportunity to self-correct for that. Because when you acknowledge that somebody missed the mark, you are also implicitly saying, I believe you can do better. And so I think that's how, you can work together to be a good human in these fronts. And so finally, the last thing, being a good human, is taking a break when you need it. So at Alaris, we do 2 shutdowns a year, one in the winter, one in the summer. Our summer one's coming up the week of 4th of July, where everybody is forced on vacation. Go take a break, go relax, go recharge, because we're all working so hard. There are these stresses, and you only get one life to live, so it's really important to make sure that you mix in some fun with it, because even Wolverine likes a fruity cocktail by the pool on occasion. So I'm coming to the end here. So my journey, I would say, has had some incredible highs and some low lows, but through a mix of hard work, comic books, and I'd say like a real strong sense of purpose, we keep moving forward. And I'm really excited by all the hard work that has gone in and exceeding expectations, that we're at this moment that we are right now, where we're about to launch all these products that I truly think and hope will change our lives, our kids' lives, and future generation lives. So wherever you guys find yourself on your journey, I hope that you embrace it, because it can be a lot of fun. And before I end, the last thing I have is actually a request for all of you. Please look at your calendar, mark the date. I'd like to invite you to Alaris's 10th birthday next year. So thank you very much.